Okay, guys, what's up? It's Red55 here. I am going to be talking today a little bit about Weapon X and how to use them, build them, and how to use them against Heroes for Hire. Now, the cool thing about this team is that they actually really do crush Heroes for Hire. They're very good against them. But there's some tricks to the team. And it's not just straightforward, unfortunately. You can't just build up just Omega... Well... it's not that you can't just build up just Omega Red and you'll win, like kind of like Ghost and Pimtech. It's just that there's a lot of like little nuances to how that matchup goes, and I'm going to talk about them today. And I'm going to talk about how I built mine and how it's pretty effective, and how I would definitely recommend building this team, but and just like some things that you want to look out for when you're building. So first off, you want to build these three up. These are the most important three members of the team. That doesn't mean that these guys aren't doing anything. It's just that these three are the ones. Lady Deathstrike does insane damage. Silver Samurai is putting out like a ton of vulnerables. He can soak up a ton of damage. And then Omega Red is really the biggest key. He's by far the most important. But that doesn't necessarily mean he should be the biggest, and I'll talk about some reasons why on that. Wolverine and Sabretooth are really just there to get some bleeds, do some damage. They're pretty good. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that they're bad. They're probably the best options for this team. There's not a lot of other people you could really slot in here. That being said, of these five, they're the two least important. So it's kind of like Omega Red's on a tier of his own, and then Deathstrike and Samurai, and then Wolverine and Sabretooth. So let's go through them one by one, and I'm going to talk about what's important with these characters. So you can kind of look through her kit. I won't go over everything in her kit because she's been out for a while. I assume most of you know at least the basics of it. But she does a lot of damage. She has a little bit of a cleanse. Her special goes off really quick, and it removes turn meters, so that's really nice. You want to hit 3 people with it, so that just slows down the team a little bit. So let's talk about her ISO class, Striker. You definitely want to do Striker on her. You just need the extra damage. And Silver Samurai puts out so much vulnerable, she'll get the double strike quite often. It's actually a triple tap if they have bleed, so that's really cool. And then, yeah, I have her to ISO blue. It's not necessary, but, you know, it's cool, so I did it. And then let's talk about T4s. So, alright, so the T4s for Deathstrike. You got 2 really good and 2 okays. And you can see that I've done 3 on her, so I've invested a little bit. That's because I took her into Dark Dimension 5. You can see I have her at tier 16. That's not necessary. Let me be clear here. You do not need to bring up anyone to gear tier 16 for this to work. I only recently brought her up, and this team is already working. I'm just doing that because I'm using her for Dark Dimension. So her passive T4 it makes her a little bit more survivable, and it lowers resistance by 50% on all enemies. That's really strong, lowering resistance, because just everything starts to land after that. So that's really sweet. And then this one's really good because if the primary target has bleed, apply defense down. So whenever you're doing the double tap, because if they have bleed, you attack again, and whenever you do the double tap, you get defense down on them. So that's really strong. This one isn't as necessary, but it just does a good damage, and I had her so high that 40% piercing is worth it, and 2 bleed. This one's really solid too. It's a really good move, and it rebound chains more. The reason I didn't upgrade this one is just because it has so much energy. You really only do it once, so you're not getting as much bang for your buck. But this is a solid move too. All of these would be fine on her. She's not the most important. Like, none of them are insanely critical to the team. Maybe the passive, just because of the lowering resistance, but I wouldn't say that any of those are really required. Alright, let's take a look at Omega. He's the most important character on this team. And I'm going to talk about the trauma and heal block, etc., etc., when we go into the match, but he's the reason that you can beat Heroes for Hire so easily. So obviously his ISO is Striker. You just want the extra damage. That's the most important thing with him. I could probably level him up, but I'm just haven't for whatever reason. level up his ISO, I mean. You definitely want this guy really strong, but you don't necessarily want him to be the biggest on your team, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so let's see here. We've got ISO. Where's Omega? So I'm looking at my notes for this guy. All right, Omega Red. Okay, so the essentials for Omega on T4s is Death Factor. So this one's really, really important because he gets this 30% health, and when he has the full team, he lowers enemy damage. That's just really good because he keeps everyone from dying right away. When you're fighting Weapon X, Shang-Chi always opens up with the really huge attack, and you want to lower that damage. So that one's essential. And then what was the other essential one that I put? In his ultimate. Okay, so let's see. Oh, because you get 100% extra damage, and it flips all positive effects. You really, really want to get this one. This is the most important ability that he does. This is the team killer, especially on Heroes for Hire. You want to flip all those positives because that all sticks with the trauma. And you want the extra damage too because you want to bring everyone under half health. This one's really good too. I would say that this is like a really solid T4. And it's even better if you're taking him into Dark Dimension, which I will be eventually, because it steals an extra 5% health. So that's a really strong one. And then this one's not that important. It does a little bit of extra damage, and that's it. I would say only do this if like you're really splurging on him. All right, next up, Silver Samurai. ISO, this guy critically needs to be Skirmisher, I think. I know some people do Striker on him. He does do quite a bit of damage, but I think just being able to land all the bleeds and getting all the vulnerables on his counterattacks and everything is so important. And you already have 2 other Strikers on this team. You might want to change it up if your Silver Samurai is by far your biggest character. I could see saying like, okay, we're gonna put Striker on this guy because he's so humongous and he's our biggest guy. But I think that, given the similar balance to what I have, I would definitely put him as Skirmisher. Alright, so now let's look at his T4s. Let's see here. Silver Samurai. So, Essential is his special. I think that this is a really, really strong T4. So I think before this, you only get 2 deflect. Let's see. You don't get nearly as much deflect. You might actually... Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think you get +2 deflect. Oh, no. You only have +1 deflect. Okay. So it goes up 2 more deflect. You gain 2 more counter, and you get defense up on everyone for 2 turns. Such an important move, I think. This move is incredible. A lot of times I think that, you can start off with a stun, or you can start off with this. I usually start off with a taunt. I usually want Silver Samurai to tank as much as possible. Even though the stun is really strong, I think that this does... It depends on, it depends on what's happening, I guess, and what matchup. Because a stun can also protect your team, but this does a really good job of protecting your team, putting defense up on everyone and giving himself taunt, and he gets all that counter attack. That's really big because they start attacking him and he gets them back with these big bleeds. And so I think that's a really good one. And then let's see what else on Silver Samurai. His really good is his passive. So it basically reduces the assist chance of all enemies in war to 0, and in non-war it's by 25%. That doesn't matter too much because really this is the only place I'm using him. But in war it's reducing all of their assist chance by 100%. So that means Nebula, what's her name, Colleen, I think. I'm not going to go into the assist chance and assist now, and because I don't fully know what all characters take advantage of this, but it reduces the assist chance of a lot of characters, and that's really nice, especially on a lot of teams that's designed to triple tap. So I think that's really good. I actually don't think it's like as incredible as I originally read it to be when I first saw this character. I thought this was going to be like kind of a game changer. It's good because it helps against certain teams, but this isn't really the reason that you're winning. Even though it's a really strong ability, it's just not the most important thing. Okay, and then next up, I think both of his what did I say? Nice to have is his basic and ultimate. So both of these are pretty good. I did end up T4ing this because basically when he counterattacks or assists, it applies 2 bleed. I think that's so good because he gets a lot of counterattacks and assists. And he has so much health, especially in war, that those bleeds really, really hurt. Omega's passive gives him like plus 50% health, and he already has like a pretty okay health stat. Like that's okay for his level and stuff, but like with 50%, it's kind of insane. And then this one just kind of gives you some extra damage. If you have Striker on him and he's like a really big part of your team, then this might be worth T4ing, but for me it's not. Okay. Sorry, I'll go a little bit faster through these. So, Wolverine, he's a Raider. The reason that you put Raider on him is because he attacks a lot of guys. Skirmisher works fine too. It depends on like how your team is set up and how much damage he's doing. If he's really big on your team, I can see Striker making sense, but for me, he's kind of smaller. He's a good character, so don't get me wrong. When I say that he's one of the less important characters, that's just because of how strong this team is. Everyone on it is really good. Him and Sabretooth are both really strong. But like for the T4s, really special and passive are okay. This is fine. Healing for 5% extra is fine, and when he drops below 60% health, gain defense up, and 2 death proof, that's solid. You know, it helps him survive a little bit. This is probably worth getting, especially if he's a little bit bigger than mine. I don't really care too much if he survives a lot of the time, so whatever. I think his special's pretty good too. Let's see. Yeah, because this one does like 150% piercing. This is probably worthwhile too. All that extra piercing damage is really good. And he attacks more, and he applies 2 bleed. So this one is probably worthwhile, especially if you have him a little bit stronger. I just don't have him that strong, so it's like not going to do that much extra damage for me. And then his basic is fine. The extra bleed is really what you care about here. 10% piercing is nothing to sneeze at, or is nothing to write home about, really. And then his ultimate, this is, okay, 90% seems like a lot, but it's actually not that much because, like, look at the percentage-wise. 710%, you get 90 extra percent. It's not bad, and you get 2 bleed. This is kind of a finisher move. So the 90%, you know, that's a little helpful. The 2 bleed, I don't find that helpful because usually you're killing with this move, or at least you should be. It removes death proof and like does a huge amount of damage. I don't think that this one's that strong. Okay, and then next up, Sabretooth. All right, what did I say for Sabretooth? I think he doesn't really have that many good ones. His special and his ultimate are both worthwhile. So this one's pretty good. It does like, you know, especially if, like I said with Wolverine, if you have him bigger, this is worth it because it just does so much extra damage. Like if he's doing a lot of damage on your team, this is worth T4ing. And this, oh wait, this is not. This one's pretty good too. 50% extra damage, anti-rebound chains like 2 more. That's pretty good. That's probably worth it if he's pretty strong. This is bad. Don't get this. If you're building for Weapon X, this is just kind of bad. Really, Weapon X does not have that many non-attack abilities, so this doesn't really help. And I don't even know if they have actually any. And then Marauders obviously doesn't matter. That tag doesn't matter. And this is just 40% on a primary. Who cares? It's not that much damage. I wouldn't bother T4ing either of those. Okay, guys, so now let's talk a little bit about the Heroes for Hire matchup. So we talked a little about how to build the team, and now we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of quirks in the Heroes for Hire matchup that you need to keep in mind when you're thinking about Weapon X. Because a lot of you, I mean, part of the reason is to talk about how Weapon X matches up with Heroes for Hire. Obviously they're an amazing war team, and they can match up with a lot of great teams. But Heroes for Hire is still the big bad in terms of war defense, which might be changing with the Dark Hunters coming around. But like, it's just something that you want to think about when you're building your team. So, ooh, look at this. Why is this not ranked up already? So when you're building your team, you want to think about a couple of things, and It's mostly actually Misty Knight. In some ways, Misty Knight seems like the least important, and maybe that's true in terms of power, but in terms of her impact on the battlefield, I think that she has a very, very big impact. And that's because of two abilities, okay? This is going to be her special and her, and mostly her ultimate. So her ultimate goes off turn 1. Alright? So let's look at some of the stuff that it does. Clears all positive effects on the primary target and then attack for 380% damage, plus ability block and disrupted. Okay, so it clears all of your positives and gives you ability block and disrupted. And on war defense, this attack targets the enemy with the highest health instead of the primary target, ignoring taunt and stealth. Gain 5,000% extra focus for this attack. And if Colleen Wing is an ally, this attack can't be blocked. So this is going to go off right away. Well, actually, not quite right. Not quite right away. But, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But she's gonna go pretty quickly. And Weapon X is super fast, so you actually have a chance to go before her. But the thing is, this will, if your Omega Red is the biggest, this is gonna target him. Okay? And that's gonna ability block him, and you don't have a chance to purge that before his next turn, which should be his ultimate. Okay, so here's the order of events. Omega Red will go, and he gets to do his special. And then, there's a bunch of other turn order. Misty Knight will go. She's going to ability block him. And then on Omega Red's turn, he'll be ability blocked, so he'll be screwed. He has to do a basic. And then on her next turn, she's going to do her special, which is a stun. And on war defense, this targets the highest damage instead of the primary target. So once again, if your Omega Red is built up, it's going to target him again, regardless of who has taunt and everything. And she gets 1,000% extra focus on this one. Not quite as much, but it's still going to land. They have like a bunch of crazy passive stuff that gives them extra focus. And on war defense, they gain, I don't know, plus 30% or something extra focus. I don't even know what all. Yeah, 30% extra focus. And if you have it T4'd, another 40, so 70%. It's going to land, okay? Unless you're just massively punching down, it's going to land. So she's going to ability block and then stun him. And then, so he's not going to be able to get his ultimate off that whole time. And that whole time, your team is going to be getting worked. The reason that Heroes for Hire loses against Weapon X, the reason Weapon X is effective, is because of Omega Red's ultimate and just Omega Red's impact on the team. So if she's able to ability block and then stun him for like 2 turns in a row, you're basically gonna lose. Okay, so that's why you really want to have somebody else on the team as big as Omega Red, so that they can soak up that first hit. It doesn't really matter. The second one, stunning Omega Red, doesn't matter that much after he gets his ultimate off. That's okay. And so I'm gonna kind of show off this match and show kind of how it goes down. And I think it'll be clear what's going on here. Unfortunately, I can't really go back and forth between the different builds. My Silver Samurai is big enough that he's going to take the hit, but I'll show you what would have happened. So, yeah, let's go to set defense. And I would highly, highly recommend doing some practice runs against your own alliance's Heroes for Hires. Let's see, I know we've got some strong ones. Let's try Red Bulls. I don't know if he's the strongest anymore, but this should be fine. Okay, this is actually not strong enough. Let's see, who's in bridge? I think Magnus has a big one. Not big enough. Maybe Othello has a big one. Not big enough. I guess I should have looked first. Let's see. Rincewind? This is pretty good. 656. Okay. So, unfortunately, you're not going to really see me punching up because this is about the same. Well, it's a little bit of a punch up. But I can punch up quite a bit with this team. Quite a bit more than this. This shouldn't be too bad. So, okay. I'm going to talk about kind of the different steps on what works here. Okay? So, really, the reason... and I'm just going to go over some of the mechanics of Heroes for Hire, trauma, stuff like that. If you already know all this stuff, sorry, it's just a refresher course, but just so that everyone kind of has a full understanding of what's going on in this fight, I'm just going to go over it. It might be too basic, I don't know, but so basically how the Heroes for Hire defense works is that they all start when they first spawn on the first time in each war. They all start with 2 charges, and if there's all 5 of them, Misty Knight and Colleen get 3. So you can see they have these charges on them. Anytime they dip below 50% health on their turn, they clear all negative effects and they heal up to full. Okay? But trauma is unable to be removed, and it also makes all other negative effects unable to be removed. So what happens is when somebody dips below 50%, every time a Heroes for Hire member takes a turn, they burn a charge. They try to remove all of the negative effects, and they can't. And then they try to heal, but they're heal blocked. So it basically ticks a charge off, and they don't get anything for it. And basically, the idea here is that you want to put trauma and heal block on people, get them below 50, tick off all of their energy, and then you can just kill them. So that's the idea here. Now, what's the problem here? So if Misty Knight targets my Omega Red, which she won't because my Silver Samurai is too big, but if your Omega Red is the biggest character, she's going to target whoever has the highest health, okay? And if your Omega Red is the biggest character by a lot, or even by a good amount, she's going to target him, okay? So if Omega's your biggest character, you need to use this ability block on her. But since I don't need to do that, I'm going to use it on Shang-Chi. Now let me tell you what happens. I'm going to show you kind of what would happen if I was targeted by this. Okay? So instead, Silver Samurai was targeted, and it actually does like nothing to him because he has a passive where that removes all negative effects on his turn. He loses a charge for each one. Okay, so I'm just, I'm hitting people. I'm just using my Sabretooth and Wolverine. That's all fine. We'll just, we'll burn off some turn meter. Why not? With her. So let's pretend that my Omega Red got hit by ability block. Unfortunately, it would actually really change things because it would remove his defense up. It would remove his speed up. And he would have... but we'll just do this, because that's all I can do. Because I've been ability blocked. Okay? Now... I'm just going to taunt with this guy. Alright, so then on the next time that Misty Knight goes, she's going to do a different move. She's going to stun the person with the highest attack. And once again, if my Omega is my biggest character, it's going to hit me. Instead, it hit Deathstrike, which is actually fine for my build. But if it had hit my Omega Red, he'd be stunned again. So let's just pretend that he got stunned this time, and I'm just going to basic with him. I just want to give you an idea of what happens to your team if Omega is the biggest guy and you don't really stop her from doing that. Yeah, Shang-Chi's able to pop off now. Everyone's taking big hits. And it's actually looking really bad for me. So now I'm stunned. I just broke out a stun. Just pretend like this was, instead of a basic attack, I just broke out a stun. Now, it might be a little bit different because she might have been able to clear it there, but whatever. This is just a simulation. Just assuming that you got ability blocked and then stunned, you're really screwed here. That's the point of this. It does not go well. It does not go well for you if Omega Red can't get his ultimate off. So I'm gonna talk about now. I'm gonna redo this match. I think I'm gonna lose. I might still win just because my guys are so built up. My Omega and my Silver Samurai and Deathstrike are so strong, they might still be able to win this. Yeah, with Deathstrike down, it's bad. I don't know if I'll be able to actually bring everyone down below 50. I might be able to. Let's see how much this does. It did quite a bit. So see, everyone kind of got cleared. And unfortunately, he... Okay, actually, it doesn't matter. I think we're just going to take him out. So now, see, everyone's taking off their energy. That's so good for me. We're going to ability block Shang-Chi. Everyone's just taking off energies. This is exactly what you want to see happen. You see these energies all tick down. That just means that's like lives taken off. You know what I mean? So actually, I think I might still win this, just because my guys are so strong. But you can see my whole team got wiped out. This would have been a lot closer, and this is barely a punch up. You can still win when he gets ability blocked and stunned, but it's a lot harder. So yeah, that's it. So I still won, but I'm telling you that was a lot closer than it needed to be. And if that was a little bit more of a punch up, I would have lost. And if my Silver Samurai and my Deathstrike weren't so strong, which if your Omega's built up, you know, they're not going to be able to take as many hits as mine did. So now let me show you what that looks like when I play it. When I play it the way that my team is built. Okay, I'm not going to pretend that I got ability blocked and stunned. I can show you how fast and how well this team works. Okay, and then I'm going to show you one last thing, which is what to do if your Omega's your biggest guy. It's going to be a little dicey because Shang-Chi might wipe out your whole team if you only have Omega Red big. He might wipe out your whole team except for Omega, and it's just that's a little tough. If you're going up against a really big Shang-Chi, he hits with his ult early and it hurts. Okay, so this is what this matchup looks like when I usually do it. Right away, I'm going to go for Shang-Chi. I'm going to ability block him so he doesn't ult first round. All good. She hits Silver Samurai because he has the highest health. That's great. That's who I want her to hit. And then we're trying to get Shang-Chi down below 50. If we can. Probably can't. Looks like we did it, actually. So he's below 50 before before that trauma wears off. It's okay. He's about to get rid of it, which is actually fine because we're about to put trauma back on him. Yeah, so now my ultimate pops off. And it goes off early enough because I didn't get ability blocked, I didn't get stunned, and the stun hasn't even happened yet. So now we're gonna put bleeds on everyone. We're gonna taunt and defense up everyone. I love that move so much. I just think it's so good. He's going to get all these counterattacks. These counterattacks are awesome, too, because they're putting 2 bleed on everyone. His health pool is insane, so those bleeds do a ton of damage. Now, you can see Colleen actually came back because she died too fast. That is one problem. That's one thing that you want to look out for when you're, like, punching across or even punching down. You might actually kill them too quickly, and before their energy charges are able to bleed off of them. It's okay usually, but you just don't want to do it on everyone because it just won't work as well. Everyone's just going to come back right away. They're only going to lose 1 charge instead of losing all of their charges. Yeah, so you see I took like no damage. Everyone survived perfectly fine. Now, you might be saying, well, crap, my Omega is too big. My Silver Samurai is not nearly big enough. He doesn't have any stars. We have a couple options. You can build Sabretooth up. That works. He'll have a high enough health pool. If you have Sabretooth at the same kind of gear tier, but with more stars than Omega, he'll have a higher health pool because of Omega's passive. And when you look at somebody's health stat, I'll show this after. You want to add 50% because Omega will give all the Weapon X characters 50% extra health. So I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so now we're going to talk about like what do you do if your Omega's the biggest character and you're going to get targeted. Okay. It's pretty simple. The strategy here is that you just want to ability block Misty Knight turn 1. That has to land. So you're basically trying to stop her from ability blocking you. You're ability blocking her, which stops from her ability blocking you, and then on turn 2 you can still ult. The problem is you're going to have to eat Shang-Chi's ult. That's okay though. you'll generally survive. Everyone has defense up, and everyone has a huge amount of health because of Omega. So you should survive. You might not like it. I think it's better to ability block Shang-Chi if you can get away with it. But if she's gonna target your Omega, and you can test this by just going in against a practice one and seeing who she targets. If she's gonna target your Omega Red, unfortunately, that's actually really bad. Oh, actually, it's fine. So she already took her turn. So it doesn't really matter. I think she already took her turn. Yeah, she already took her turn because she has way less speed than Omega does. So she already took her turn. She didn't ability to block anyone. And so now I'm going to be able to ult fine. Yeah, we get hit by Shang-Chi. I don't think that was actually his ult. I think he already did his ult. And she is traumatized. Did I trauma her? I think I did the wrong thing. Alright, now we just ult like normal. Now, the thing is, you're still gonna get stunned by Misty Knight. But that's okay, because after this, he's just gonna basic, which still does an amazing amount of damage. But it's okay if he's stunned for that part. The rest of your team should still be able to clean up here. Really, you just need to get everyone below 50 here. So, anyone who's not below 50, you want to ping off all of it. You want to get them down so they start pinging off. So now everyone's below 50. You can see no one has energy anymore. So this is when you kill them. Okay, so I think before what happened is I may have, well, the blue stack is so laggy, I may have ability blocked Colleen instead of Misty. But the point is, you need to ability block her so she can't ability block you. There's not too much to it. That's just the strategy there. I don't need to finish this fight off because it's already over. So, okay, then I'll show you a little trick to you can see what you need. Omega's health will reflect accurately in the stat screen, but everyone else's won't. So if you want to check to see whose health is bigger, pretty simple stuff. You just kind of add 50% to the other people's. So let's look at Weapon X really quick. BlueStacks is so laggy, guys. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's look at this stats. So he has 716,000 health, which is absolutely insane. You can see because he has gained 50% max health, that actually gives him so much. But it gives it to him in all cases. Whereas in War, he only gives it... it's only in War when he gives 50% max health to all his Weapon X allies. So if you go and look at my Silver Samurai, it might actually look like... I think he definitely has less health. He only has 548,000. But, you know, roughly you're adding 275,000 to that. So it's over 800,000 when you're taking that into account. And so he actually does have more, which is why he gets targeted. He has more by like 100,000. If you look at my... like Sabretooth or Wolverine, I think Sabretooth has better health. He's only 200,000. You would add 50%, so you'd add 100,000. So it would be, you know, about 300,000. Not nearly enough. I mean, he's not nearly as leveled. But if he was gear tier 15, I think, you know, and maybe 5 red stars or whatever, I think he'd be okay. I don't know, but you have to check to see. There might be some calculators out there to see, like MSFD.gg might show what his health pool is at certain gear tiers and stuff like that. So you might want to theory craft before you start building everyone up, just to make sure that you don't spend a lot of resources just to not get them to high health enough. But for sure, if you level up Silver Samurai high enough, he has enough health to do it. Mine's gear tier 16, so obviously, but even before, when he was only 15, he still had enough health and it was fine. So, Yeah, that's kind of the trick there. So yeah, that's it. The last thing I'll say is you want to be careful when you're attacking. Make sure you pay attention to what room you're going into. If you're going into attacking a bridge, it can be a little bit tricky, especially if you need to target the Misty. Basically, bridge can put immunity and stealth on characters that you want to target with ability block. So because it does 10 random positive effects, so you just want to be wary of attacking a Heroes for Hire on bridge with Weapon X, especially if you need to ability block the Misty. It can be really dangerous. But otherwise, go practice this against your alliances, Heroes for Hire. You're not going to have a problem. Just learn the matchup a little bit, and it becomes really cake, and you can just really super punch up. So yeah, that's it. That's all for this video. I just wanted to kind of go over that matchup and kind of the build strategy. So if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to answer anything I know. Yeah, thanks guys.